Meeting will come to order. We have a couple of our council members out for various reasons tonight, so I am going to be the presiding officer for this particular meeting. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
Good afternoon. Mr. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Herbert? Here. Dr. Bustles? Here. Mr. Brennan?
Present.
And Mr. McDowell? Mr. Duval?
Present.
Mayor Rickaman? Thank you.
Stand and have the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Can I ask Mr. Brown to have an invocation from the council?
Yes, sir. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, please bless this great city of Columbia, South Carolina. Please bless our citizens as they come together to make Columbia a special place that it is for all of us. Please bless our staff as they continue to work for all of our residents in Columbia. Please bless this council as we not only do the people's work, but we do your work as well. And finally, keep us forever mindful of our responsibilities to all the people, to all people of all backgrounds, as we build toward the common goal of prosperity and love. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Madam City Manager, we would like to defer item 33. Do I hear a motion that we adopt the agenda deferring item 33?
And I believe, Councilman Duval, that you are going to defer item 46 only, the appointments to the Planning Commission. Is that what council agreed
We're
upon?
going to defer the Planning Commission, but not the other three.
Yes, sir. Item 46. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Duval.
I'll make a motion to approve with the deferral of item 33 and 46.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Madam Clerk, got it.
We just voted. You want a roll call? Okay.
Voice vote.
He did it by unanimous consent. Thank you.
It's unanimous. Save some time.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we'll ask for any public input related to these agenda items as you all have adopted the agenda.
Anybody from the public want to speak on an item that's on the agenda tonight?
I believe most individuals are signed up to speak on items that are part of the public hearing. Item 32 for Gadsden Street. Item 33 has been deferred, and that would have been 2212 Senate Street.
Okay. Those that want to speak on item 32, which is which street?
Well, it's going to be during the public hearing that we'll call to
Oh,
order
it'd be
shortly.
public hearing.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Save those comments for the public hearing. Those items are on public hearing tonight, so you'll have a chance to speak at that time.
Thank you. With that, Mr. Duval, would you like to continue with the approval of the minutes?
Yes. Do I hear a motion on the minutes?
And this is for item 1. Council is asked to approve the October 17th, 2023 work session and council meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded? Seconded.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. No vote.
Is there a motion on the second one, April 11?
This is the April 11th, 2023 budget workshop minutes.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Brennan. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, sir. Moving into a period of presentations, item number 3, Mr. Julian H. Hayward Day Proclamation, the Honorable Tina N. Herbert.
If I could get all of the Greenview folks and the family members and friends of Julian H. Hayward to come on up to the podium while I read this proclamation. And just so you all know, I called the mayor and begged, can I please read it? And then he ends up not being here, so I had to read it anyway, so I'm excited. Whereas Mr. Julian H. Hayward was born in Sumter, South Carolina on November 23rd, 1921, from the union of Julian Hayward and Lutetia Hayward as their third of 8 children. And whereas he was drafted into the military for World War II and saw active duty traveling by sea to England, then France, and by land into Belgium, then Luxembourg, and finally Germany. Following the war, he settled in Columbia, South Carolina with his brother Samuel A. Hayward and worked at Fort Jackson as a master carpenter. Whereas he has lived in the Greenview community since the 1950s until now and is believed to be the oldest living resident of Greenview. Whereas he is the proud father of 4 children, Brenda Harrington of Rembert, South Carolina, Julian Hayward, deceased, Betty Jean Hayward, deceased, and Florence Williams of New York. We let her get away to Syracuse. Whereas Mr. Julian Hayward will celebrate his 102nd birthday on November 23rd, and therefore I, Tina Herbert, on behalf of Daniel Rickman, along with my fellow members of Columbia City Council, do hereby proclaim November 23rd, 2023 as Julian H. Hayward Day in the great city of Columbia and urge my fellow citizens to recognize and participate in its observance. And Mr. Hayward could not be here today. We didn't want him to have to come out, but we do have some pictures. That's from they had a drive-by celebration for him on Saturday, and I wasn't able to make it, but great pictures. That is him right there, and then Miss Ida. Is that John? John, is that you? Yes. And that's his son, John. And I think there's some other pictures. Nephew. And there were some other pictures. I don't know if, that is him and his daughter, Brenda, and then maybe one other picture. But I want to salute, y'all know my roots in Greenview, and I was explaining, I learned a lot from Greenview, good and bad, but I wouldn't be who I am without those experiences. And so I wanted to make sure that we showed him the honor that he was due.
Thank you.
And I don't know if Miss Ida or his nephew wants to say anything?
Well, thank you so much, Councilwoman Herbert, to all the members of council and all those present. Of course, Greenview is a very special place for those of us who had the honor of growing up there. And in doing research for our quarterly newsletter, I discovered that Mr. Hayward is our oldest living resident. And so we are excited to honor him. This is a picture that members of the Greenview Reunion Foundation took with him several months ago. He is still spry, still very sassy, and was just absolutely delighted with the drive-by celebration we did for him on Saturday. And we are just so appreciative of you taking the time to recognize him. He's a wonderful individual and has lots of stories to share. And so we are all excited about his birthday coming up on Thanksgiving Day and about this opportunity to formally recognize him. Thank you so very much.
And thank you for bringing it to my attention too, because this is significant. We want to make sure that we show him, give him all the recognition that we can.
Absolutely. He moved to Greenview 2 years after my parents moved there. They moved there in 1948. He moved there in 1950.
The beginning of 1950.
Yes.
All right. That's a long time. Y'all want to take
Thank
a
you
picture?
very much.
Y'all want to take a picture?
Come around here and take a picture.
Y'all want to take a quick picture? Miss Tracy, you didn't want to take the picture with the Greenview people? You're gonna make me act green?
Thank you. And at this time, item number 4 is an update from the South Carolina Ballet. Mr. William Starrett, the CEO and Artistic Director for the South Carolina Ballet.
Thank you, councils. Thank you so much for having a few minutes of your time. I wanted to thank you particularly for our HTAX funding, particularly last year. It was so helpful. We had our biggest year ever. And I want to take a few moments to introduce some of my dancers, some of the 29 fully contracted artists. The South Carolina Ballet is the largest employer of artists in our state. So if you'll please rise and I'll introduce, first of all, my company manager, which is Brandon Funk, and then our ballet master is Maurice Johnson. Maurice has been with us 18 years from Greenville originally. And then I want to introduce, this is Peyton Bond, Hassan Booth, James Velasco, and there's Tony Tucker and Josiah Savage. And now I'm blocked. There is Imani Garrett. She's a local girl made good. Then over here we have our first dancer is Claire Rapp, and our principal dancer, Van Dyke, Joshua Van Dyke. And behind, if you all sit down so we can see, we have Amanda Wong and Gianna Coco and Derek Jones. Corrick Jones, sorry. I always call him by their first name. So this is just a few of our 29 dancers, but I wanted you to get an idea of the amazing artists that we have lured here to Columbia and that are performing for us. So we're in the middle of our Nutcracker tour, and on Thursday and Friday we're performing for 4,500 children at the Coker Center. It's already sold. We're doing Frosty the Snowman. So in the middle of our 6-city tour, we're already booked for 9 cities next year. We're already sold out in Savannah. They had to open up the top balcony, and we're completely sold out in Florence. So we're like the Taylor Swift of ballet, that we sell out in advance. I can't even believe it. We're performing there in Florence on the 14th of December, and there are no tickets left. So that's just incredible. And people are discovering how amazing the art form is. So our educational outreach is in full throttle, and we performed last night in Lancaster, 3 performances. So we reached 1,800 children in Sumter and 2,000 children in Lancaster yesterday. So I also wanted to talk about our season that's coming up, Motown Ballet. We're bringing that back. It was hugely successful. Again, our bow to diversity, which is so important. And we're doing Snow White in the spring, and then the world premiere of Elvis Presley. So we just really wanted to talk about the impact economically in that we're the largest performing arts organization. We perform the most amount of times in the city of any arts organization, any local arts organization. So we do 6 Nutcrackers alone, and then we do 6 seasons here in Columbia. So what we're proud about that is that we can refund the hospitality tax because so many people reach us, and then so many people eat and drink before and after the performance. So, and that wouldn't be possible. We couldn't reach them if we did not have the marketing dollars. So thank you so much for your past funding, and we hope we can keep it coming so we can continue to do what we do so well. We really want to invite you to please come to one of the performances. I think that all of us stay so busy, and that if you came and saw the crowds that are there and the excitement of the ballet and the performances, you would understand why the funding and the support is so important. I mean, it's ballet, and it's the most popular art in our city. We perform the most times in the biggest theater, so there's got to be something to it. So come and find out, and I will get you free tickets. You'll be my guest. Please come in the next 2 weeks. So thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you.
Thank you, William.
Thank you, William, and your company has done a fantastic job for years in the city of Columbia, and I'm glad that you've now become the South Carolina Ballet because you are the premier ballet company in the state, and we're proud of you. Thank you for all the work that y'all do to get to this level of performance. council members.
Thank you, Mr. Duval. If you do not mind, Councilman, I just want to take a moment of personal privilege.
Sure.
As I do
Did
sometimes.
you dance with William?
I'm sorry?
Did you dance with William?
When I was a little girl? Or more recently? No, sir. I did dance, but unfortunately not with William. We have some years of service to recognize today, and of course, when they're significant years of service, it's very important to me that we take a quick moment to do that. And I know these are some individuals you all are familiar with. So I'm going to ask ACM Henry Simons to come up for our first recognition.
Thank you, Councilman Duval and our council members. Thank you, Ms. City Manager, for this privilege and opportunity. I have, of course, worked for the City of Columbia since 2019. And without a doubt, I could not do what I do without someone that works with me every day. And she is truly appreciated. She's the engine behind what operations does. And I'm very thankful for who she is to our organization, who she is to me as an ACM. So please help me congratulate Ebony Kelly on 25 years of service for the City of Columbia. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ebony helps Henry, he helps me, he helps Clint, and Pam, all of the, Missy, all of us, all of the assistant city managers. She's so helpful and such a joy, and has made her way around the city with that institutional knowledge. Our second recognition I will do. I will ask Mr. Jeff Palin, our Assistant City Manager and Chief Financial Officer, to come forward. As you all know, he is very important to me personally. He stands quite nobly when asked for me oftentimes. I'm not going to go into what I really know he would like to receive for these years of service is brown and hard and liquor that I can't give him today, so I'll give him something else besides his bourbon. But I would like Jeff to come forward to receive his pin for 15 years of service. And for some history, you all may know, and some of you may know, when I became Assistant City Manager, Jeff was serving as our treasurer. And I knew that any good city manager better have the finances in order and the public safety functions in order. And I felt like we had never had a chief financial officer at the City of Columbia, and Jeff's ability to know money matters, but explain them in a way that not only I and our staff can understand and the elected body has been very helpful. And not to mention his ability to say no and amongst other things. So, Jeff, thank you for your service. Please share, this is your pen, and share this little treat to Halls with Jeannie if you don't mind. If you can give up the steak dinner just for yourself and share it with her.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for indulging me with those. So with our consent agenda, I know that there are a few items 9, 11, and 21, that a few council members want to speak to. One of the items I'm going to speak to on behalf of Mayor Rickaman, actually. And so if you'd like to take up those items right now, just as far as the commentary on them, we can do that and then approve the whole consent agenda after you all discuss those items. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Is number 9 the first one?
Yes, sir. Number
Number
9 is regarding the professional services contract for Rapid Shelter Security Services. And I know, Councilman Duval, you had some
This
comments.
is the one I asked to have a comment on. I plan to vote to support passage of this, but Once again, before I leave this council, I wanted to remind the council of my fear that we are biting off more than the city of Columbia can chew. This is $640,000 for a security contract to be used on the rapid shelter and what we used to call the inclement weather shelter. And that is just one of the expenses we have in dealing with the homeless situation in the city of Columbia. I have told this council before, and I'll tell them again if I have a chance, that the homeless problem is not unique to the city of Columbia. We did not cause the problem, and we cannot afford to solve the problem alone. We need to have a concerted state and federal effort to support the homeless services, and one city, the city of Columbia, cannot bear all of the financial investment that it will take to make a big dent in this problem. So as we go forward with other programs dealing with the homeless, start adding it up, how much we are paying, and is it going to be enough to solve the problem, or are we just putting Band-Aids on top, expensive Band-Aids on top of the sore? So that's just my 2 cents. I plan to vote for this thing because I think it is necessary, but I think this council needs to be aware that you cannot pay enough money to solve the homeless problem in the city of Columbia.
Thank you, Councilman. Item 11 is another item of interest here in the meeting today, but I know it's lying. Ms. Harrison texted me, but we talked earlier today about the agenda, and he wanted to call this item out because. Thank you. He wanted us to make sure that the community understands the investment that we're putting back in our neighborhoods, and this construction contract for the Randall Avenue Pocket Park is a wonderful example of that, of a park that I think will certainly contribute to the quality of life in that community. And then item 21, Councilman Brown, I know you had some comments.
Yeah, thank you, City Manager. I would like to have, in just a second, either ACM Clint Shealy or Robert Anderson discuss this project. I think it's important. Wood Creek Farms is pretty far out, but it's also part of District 4, my district, and there's been a 20-year hangover with the developer out there, and I think it's important that we talk about our investment into this area of the city, but also I want to, even though he's not here today, I want to give the mayor credit for really addressing this situation, becoming an advocate for the folks out at Wood Creek Farms, but also more of a champion to try to right some of the wrongs that we weren't really responsible for. So if we could just talk a little bit about the project and a little bit about, the ongoing issues out there. And I'm thankful for both of you, as well as the mayor and city manager, for getting involved in a situation that even the few short months I've been here seemed pretty untenable at some point. But so with that, I'll turn it over to Robert.
Thank you, sir. So Wood Creek Farms Road is a complete rebuild project. It's not just a mill and repaving. So we went to CTC, which is the County Transportation Commission, a couple years ago, and discussed Wood Creek Farms Road. And at the time, we estimated about 1.8 million. The bid came in at 2.6. That's how much increases we've experienced over the years. But Wood Creek started out as a rebuild of everything from Old National down to Spears Creek. But during the middle of that, Wood Creek Farms neighborhood had a concern about Jacobs Mill Pond Road, and there's a roundabout there. Then Jacobs Mill Pond Road actually belongs to SCDOT. So recently, Robert Sweat, Victor Atlas, and Tony Magwood with SCDOT actually went back after we bid the project to CTC and actually has the $2.6 million project fully funded with the County Transportation Commission. This is after a lot of work and a lot of details and a lot of meetings with the neighborhood about what we're going to do. So we've met with the neighborhood several times. They are aware of what we're going to do. We've tried to do the best we can. A few years ago, we did this on Lost Creek Drive. We've tried to make them as aware as we can about how dusty and dirty this is going to be. When you take asphalt off a road and you get back down to dirt, you start tilling it up with cement, you start getting dust, and they'll have a lot of dust for quite a few months. But if approved tonight, as this contract goes forward, we believe the contractor is first of all going to do the cement work around the roundabout and get the radiuses widened out. Then they'll go into actually doing the soil cement, which is when they bring their big machines in. They'll actually till everything up to include possibly the asphalt. They'll add, I believe, 9% of concrete dust. They'll put some water on it. They'll roll it in. It has to set for a few days. Then they'll put the top layer of asphalt on. When they do this, the road ought to last for 25 years or so before it has to be redone again. But generally, when you rebuild roads the way we're rebuilding this, it will just be a mill and resurface the next time around. So when we get the contract going, we will meet once again with Councilman Brown if he wishes, or anybody that wishes to go to Wood Creek Farms. We will meet with them. We will make sure they're aware of the process. Then we'll start putting weekly posts out to the neighborhood saying, this is what happens today. This is what's going to happen next week. This is what's going to happen next week. So they walk through the project with us, and we feel like when we communicate these projects, even though they're going to be dusty, even though they're going to be dirty, even though your cars are going to get muddy, at least they know every step of the process. So we're looking forward to getting this project underway as soon as we can.
And thank you, Robert. And I would also consider this a quality of life issue for the folks at Wood Creek. So I think, and I appreciate the city manager talking about that with the previous issue. And I think, as we go through these items, these really are quality of life issues for the citizens. And I think it's important that we look at it that way as well. Thank you.
Robert, how old is the Wood Creek Farm Road?
So Wood Creek Farms, the first house in Wood Creek Farms was put in around 1995. Wood Creek Farms Road was there then. The best count we have now, we think there's about 23 or 400 homes in Wood Creek Farms. Of course, they don't all use Wood Creek Farms Road. A lot of them uses Jacobs Mill Pond. So it's getting quite a bit of daily traffic.
A lot of money.
I'm asking a question for one of my colleagues. Is this the Richland County penny, or is this the gas tax?
This would be gas tax, so it's
Gas
County Transportation Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you all. At this time, you can consider the consent agenda items 5 through 29.
Do we hear a motion?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, I'll let you call the roll on this. There's a lot of money in this one.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Thank you.
At this time, sir, we will move to the zoning planning matters for first reading. Item 30 is an annexation, future land use map amendment and zoning map amendment for 9.28 acres along Park Lane Road, 1.02 acres along Old LeGrand Road, and the TMS numbers are outlined for you there. You all held a public hearing on October 17th, 2023, and first reading was deferred for your recollection.
Oh, so we're not doing, and I'm sorry, I didn't realize we had already done the public hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so you need a motion, so do people get to speak if they're here for the agenda? Because there are some folks, it's an agenda item, and there are some folks I know.
Signed up, they would have spoke at the
Anybody
beginning
here
of the
for-
meeting.
Item 30 should be allowed to speak now.
And do we want, Krista, do you have anything to say or present?
Nothing further from the public hearing.
Is anyone present that wants to speak on item 30 of Parkland Road and LeGrand Road? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Yes, I'm going to move to deny hold on a second. I'm going to move to deny the motion, to deny it.
I second that motion.
And can we have discussion really quick? Krista, can you, could you
Yeah,
just
hold on for a
refresh
second.
why?
Wait. Are we doing, okay, never mind. I'm sorry, forgive me, everyone. I'm looking at the wrong line. I move to approve the annexation. I'm sorry. Will was over here talking to me.
Second.
Okay. That answered my question. Thank you.
So you're moving to approve
Yes.
the thing.
And we have a second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
No.
Thank you.
Moving into public hearing and first reading for zoning planning matters, and I'll let Ms. Hampton take it from there.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. The first item is an annexation and future land use map amendment and zoning map amendment at 1200 Hayward Street, formerly known as 101 South Evans. It is a request to annex the property and assign a zoning of Community Activity Center Corridor District for the annexation. The iPads are not populating.
There we go. You don't have.
Nope, yeah, I have nothing.
Anybody here to speak for or against item 31 Hayward Street? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Any further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert? Aye. Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Thank you.
Your next case is a zoning map amendment for 2401 Gadsden Street, 701 Chester, and next to 701 Chester. It is a request to rezone the property from residential single-family small lot to mixed-use district.
Anyone here to speak for or against item 32?
Okay. I have Joe Cheka signed up to speak.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Cheka. I live in Elmwood Park near these lots, and I ask that you do not change the zoning to mixed use and keep them residential. I believe this will protect our property values and quality of life in Elmwood Park. We have commercial growth all around us, but these lots are more into the neighborhood, which is going to bring more noise and more traffic through the neighborhood to get to whatever business develops there. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Powers. I'm the owner of the lots in question. I still have a lot of unanswered questions that the zoning department hasn't given me for whatever reason. But these particular properties have been a bit of an albatross. When I purchased the properties, it was discovered that the city has a main sewer line over the lower half of the property, which is undevelopable because of the city's sewer line. So it has encumbered the development of this property significantly for, well, since I've owned them, since about 2015. The property on the corner has been the VFW building since the late 20s or 30s. The building itself is a commercial property. It has no residential value with this building on it, and I have maintained a business and a business license across the street, which I work from, and used this building since 2015. I have applied for a new sewer tap in 2020, which I was given, and there was no mention ever to me about rezoning this property. I have nothing but MU2 and MU1 completely all around me. The properties on Wayne Street that have been abandoned for years and no businesses are in them are still MU1. You know, the development of these two little lots over there are not, and one of them having a building that has been there for almost, 80, 90 years. I just don't see how the city can change my zoning since I bought these as an investment. The MU2 that is up in this little triangular corner is also a lot, but yet the city decided that maybe they want to keep it for the rail to trail, so they didn't rezone that, and it's completely adjacent to me. So it seems that they're just either cherry picking me or they have not reviewed this building that is on this lot. It is the VFW from the 20s, 30s, whenever it was built. It's a block building. It is not a residence. And, you know, with the sewer problem that the city presents to me and the other developing problems, I don't know what else I can do with a VFW building. I've asked for help. I've asked for explanations. I just don't understand why everybody around me doesn't get that consideration of change, why it's just mine.
Question. Thank you, ma'am. Krista, the staff recommended denial and the PC voted deny. Can you give us an explanation of why you recommended a denial?
Certainly, staff reviewed this, and the future land use plan does show this as a residential lots. With regard to the structure that is there, that is a condition that can be found in many of our historic districts, and those are sometimes converted into residences. You'll see some of those actually in Elmwood Park where those have been converted. The MU1 was actually downzoned significantly. It used to be light industrial, and so that was changed to a very low-level mixed-use zoning at that location. To the back as well was industrial. That was a construction refuse site. And so the adjacent properties had been planned unit development residential, a PUDR, the large one there, and that was restricted to residential use at the time. So that is why staff made that recommendation.
Okay.
I was talking to TK. I was, and I guess just trying to, Ms. Powers, answer some of the questions as best as I can. And I couldn't get the exact phrase, but the sewer line was already there when you purchased the property. And I wanted to make sure it was legal why we couldn't move it. And she confirmed what I thought was that we couldn't use public dollars for private benefit. So like if the city spent the money, we would be doing that for you privately. It doesn't serve a city purpose. does that make sense for why we cannot just pull that up for you? I mean, I'm being very sincere with that.
Cox and Dinkins did the survey of this property, which is what was done when I purchased it, and there was no sewer line revealed. And the city did not know they had a sewer line. I was the one that found the sewer line. I guess I could have destroyed it and then, dug it up or something like that, and then they would have had to deal with it. But they didn't even know they had the sewer line. In fact, their easement is a prescriptive easement. It is not an easement of record. So they have been encroaching on the property for all this time. The sewer line is in bad shape too.
But we still can't
Right.
use public funds to do it, though. And I just want to make sure you understand that
Well,
point.
the city did agree to move the sewer line. They just wanted me to pay for the materials. So there was some discussion about that at other city council meetings because of the way it was designed and how much it takes up the property.
And you did not want to, you were not amenable to that.
Well, you can't develop it, when you don't know what you can develop. So I can't make a decision on that kind of investment. I'm spending to move a sewer line for a city block when I don't know when I can put there, and it's never been conclusive what could actually go there. My street is 10 feet more narrow than the rest of the streets in Elmwood Park.
Well, now, that's also one of the concerns if you're trying to bring in commercial or a bigger development, that the streets are real narrow.
Well, it is when you're doing residential because there's no parking. But if you're using unusable, developable property for parking, then it's not. So to change my building on the corner of Chester and Gadsden from a commercial to a residential, I could have used all that parking in the back.
Well, and I do have a question for Krista, just to make sure I understand it. The zoning was in fact changed, but it's grandfathered in as it is. But if the structure is to be changed, it needs to be residential.
I don't
I'm
have an
talking to
answer to that
Krista.
because I've tried to call Krista to discuss
No, I
things
am
and we
talking to
haven't
Krista,
heard
yeah.
back from her.
No, I am talking to Krista.
That's actually inaccurate.
But that's what I'm asking.
I have met with Jennifer Powers, and I've not had a call from her of recent date, so that is actually not accurate. However, the zoning was changed. It was a PUDR, and then the corner property had been changed during the comprehensive rezoning.
Okay. And so, but if that structure was to be demolished or changed, it would, in the current zoning, it would need to come back as residential right now.
It is not in the historic district. It would have to be used as residential. There is currently not a commercial use that's approved for that location. It is, while you can, if the storage of goods does not constitute a business
Okay.
license is not present at that location.
Okay.
Well, if that's the case, then the buildings down on Wayne Street should have been rezoned also because there was buildings that were vacant for years that were adjacent to Columbia Heating and Cooling. But
I don't think, we
But
can't
I
go
have
back
used-
too much further.
It-
What are the rules with respect to the time with this part? Because I'm asking someone to enforce the rules.
The speaker's time limit is up.
Your time limit is up, I'm sorry. Mr. Duval, I move that we deny this request.
Motion is for denial. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brown? Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Thank you.
Your final item was deferred, so that concludes your zoning public hearing.
Moving into a public hearing and ordinance first reading, item 34 is ordinance number 2023-099, amending the 1998 Code of Ordinances of the City of Columbia, South Carolina, Chapter 4, Animals, Article 2, Livestock, to add Section 437, Temporary Use of Goats for Prescribed Grazing, and Chapter 8, Environmental Health and Sanitation, Article 1 in general, Section 8.1, Hazardous Fences. This item was endorsed by the Health, Social, and Environmental Affairs Committee on August 22nd, 2023.
This is the modification of our ordinances to allow for the grazing of goats. Any council member, y'all got any questions? Ms. Herbert, you needed one amendment that we can put on before second reading.
Yes, I didn't know if I needed to defer to the committee.
I think it would be okay for us to add in that language before the second reading, but just for, I know August feels like a while ago, but the Health, Social, and Environmental Affairs Committee received an overview of this process, and we feel confident that it is a sustainable and affordable way to clear up land, and with the right, I think, awareness and notification to neighbors, this could be a really awesome tool for different communities to use.
And if it's okay with you, I would like to move that we approve it and provide the language now so that it can be a part of the first reading.
Yeah, I would be okay with that.
All right. The additional language would be notwithstanding the preceding prohibition, the use of 1 joule or less low impedance, pulse type, properly grounded, Eric, I have this for you, properly grounded energizers and electrified low voltage fencing shall be allowed if permitted pursuant to a prescribed grazing permit as provided for in City Code Section 4-37. So I move to approve it with the addition of that language.
I can second that.
Okay, any further discussion by council? Madam Clerk?
We have to open the public hearing.
Oh, excuse me, public hearing. Jacob? Don't say much, you got the votes.
Well, I just wanted to thank you all, councilmen and councilwomen, for allowing me to speak. We started this back the middle of August. Since then, Green Goat Land Management LLC has become a federal contractor. We worked for the Coast Guard in Charleston. During that time, they had a congressional delegation come out, DHEC and OSHA. DHEC liked it better than using chemical means. OSHA didn't have any problems with our fencing or our energizers because they was properly grounded. I wanted to thank everyone that put in the hard work for this. I wanted to name some specifically. I don't think that y'all get enough credit. I think y'all only hear the complaints, not the bragging. The Health, Social, and Environmental Affairs Committee that I met at, I want to thank Robert Anderson and his staff. I want to thank Clint Shealy, the Assistant City Manager, Victoria Riles and Miriam Drum from Animal Control. Y'all are talking about the signage that is required. I wanted y'all, you see everything on paper, but sometimes y'all don't see a physical example. I got to have my little logo there. And that was, I wanted to answer any questions y'all had. For once.
I think we're fine, Jacob.
All right, well, y'all remember, get your coat on.
Any further question from council?
And move to previous question.
Madam Clerk?
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ordinances, first reading, item 35, ordinance number 2023-115, consenting to the inclusion of property in a multi-county industrial business park, LDE LLC and Shop Grove 1 LLC in Richland County. This item was endorsed by the Economic Development and Infrastructure Committee on October 17, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is moved and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown? Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Item 36, ordinance number 2023-125, granting an encroachment to Midtown Fellowship for the use of the right-of-way area of the 1800 block of Blanding Street for the installation and maintenance of landscaping, irrigation, and a new concrete sidewalk adjacent to 1800 and 1804 Blanding Street in Richland County.
That's just-
So moved.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 37, ordinance number 2023-129, authorizing the City of Columbia, South Carolina to execute and deliver an equipment lease purchase agreement in the amount of not exceeding $9 million between the city and the lessor thereof to defray the cost of acquiring certain equipment and other matters relating thereto.
Motion to approve.
The motion's there a second?
Second.
Motion moved and seconded. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 38, ordinance number 2023-130, authorizing the city manager to execute an assignment and assumption of lease and lessor's consent between the City of Columbia, Senator Isidore Lurie Center, Inc., and Senior Resources, Inc., for a portion of real property located within Maxey Gregg Park.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Moving into a period of resolutions, item 39, resolution number R 2023-088, authorizing and approving the city manager's execution of a waiver of the city's right to repurchase 10 acres in Richland County located on the boulevard in the Columbia Industrial Park provided for in restrictions of record recorded in Book 405 at page 1697.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, excuse me, any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert? Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 40 is resolution number R 2023-089, amending resolution number R 2023-036, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city council to execute an American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, Stormwater Infrastructure Program subrecipient agreement between the City of Columbia and the South Carolina Office of Resilience to fund a stormwater infrastructure improvement project that will mitigate the impact of future disasters.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Item 41, resolution number R 2023-090, adopting the Office of Business Opportunities Stimulus Program, the Grocery Store Incentive. This item was endorsed by the Community Development Committee on October 3rd, 2023.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I did want to make sure we were clear just from the record. This is I make up my own names, but this is the Grocery Store Business License Rebate Program, but I guess that's too many words. But we all know the challenges that we've had in bringing grocery stores to certain areas within the city. And so this will allow grocery stores to have a rebate on their business license. And so that could be, if they're brand new and coming, that's 100% rebate. And we also want to make sure that the ones that are here don't leave. So we're offering them, I think, 75%, and they get that for 5 years. So this is just one of the tools that we're putting in our toolbox to help attract grocery stores. And I want to thank the committee for their support.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 42, resolution number R 2023-091, authorizing the city manager to execute and to file a request for exclusion and other such documents as necessary for the city of Columbia, South Carolina to opt out of the nationwide class settlements related to per and polyfluorinated substances, PFAS.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I've had some questions about it called in today, and this is a legal step that the city is taking on advice of council to take us out of a class settlement to allow us to seek a better judgment for the city of Columbia and as this PFAS problem gets further downstream. Good analogy.
Well stated, sir. Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
We have one event resolution. Item 43 is resolution number R 2023-072, authorizing consumption of beer and wine only at the Chili Cook-Off at the 2100 block of Green Street and the 700 and 800 blocks of Pavilion Avenue on Saturday, December the 2nd,
Motion to approve.
2023.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
I just want to say I participated in the chili cook-off one year, and I've never worked harder in my entire life.
Are you participating this year?
I will be I did not know about it, but I will be out of town, so I just wrote, dang,
Okay.
won't be there, out of town.
You can still
Aye.
make chili for us.
I'll make chili, but I'm
Make
just
chili
telling
for
you,
us.
I felt like I ran a restaurant that day, and it was hard, so.
Thank
Might
you.
win this one since you approved the beer.
And I had my family helping me. Well, I had some of my family helping me. Some of them were eating chili, but anyway, aye.
Thank you. Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Thank you.
And moving into a period of appointments, the first being the Columbia Prepares Advisory Committee.
I would like to move that we nominate for reappointment Amy Husband, and that we appoint Harry Tinsley, Tiffany Latimer, Todd Byers, and Krista Hampton as members of the Columbia Prepares Advisory Committee. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye. I'd like to move that we appoint Julie Tuttle to the Historic Columbia Foundation.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye. Item 3 has been deferred, the Planning Commission has been deferred to the next meeting. And on number 4, Riverbank Zoo, I'd like to move the reappointment of Michael Valesco.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other matters, item 48, council is asked to approve a certificate of convenience and necessity as requested by the Business License Division. Award to Ms. Deandra L. Wally, doing business as D's Classy Rider LLC, located at 125 Diamond Head Drive in Orangeburg.
I'd like to make a motion to deny. Ms. Woolley did not complete the application, and there are some other concerns that we have, and so I'd like to make a motion to deny.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 49, council is asked to approve the proposed meeting schedule for 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Dr. Bustles?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Abstain.
We're going to miss you, Howard.
All right. At this time, there is opportunity for committee reports, referrals, and new business.
Any committees to report? Okay, public input.
Okay?
All right, we have at this time Mr. Wade Fulmer.
Mr. Fulmer.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having these meetings. As I prepared to come before you today, and I was here last month, we celebrated Veterans Day 10 days ago. I am a Vietnam Bronze Star veteran, infantry, and the issue is non-enforcement of nuisance code by animal control. When this started, the barking started, I was 73. I am now 75. This went on for 2 years, and it has de-escalated some, but it continues. I have sought help from not only animal control, which was ineffective during that 2-year period. In August of last year, I sought the help of the police department and the chief and his officers because animal control was ineffective, and Columbia City Police and dispatch were being responsive to the extent that they could. So nuisance, allowing or permitting animal to bark, whine, howl, excessive or in untimely fashion to result in serious annoyance or interference with the reasonable use and enjoyments of personal property. A noise subverts, endangers safety, health, welfare, comfort, repose, whether violations are intermittent, cyclical, or of recurring nature. There's plenty of code there. I could not get animal control to write a single ticket in 17 months until the 17 months. They wrote it after 17 months because I had gone to the Columbia Police Department and met with them at a pinnacle time in the middle of the 2 years to include June, July, August of 2022. Things did escalate again, but it's not a matter of if, but when such violations will occur. So as I thought more around preparing to come in and as a veteran and Veterans Day, and the city did honor specifically, more specifically, Vietnam veterans this year, I thought to myself last week and in the last few days, I've had to listen to this dog, the owner's dog. I've had to listen to abusive profanity because I did what I was told to do, both by animal control and the police department, meaning report to dispatch and try to get help. I've had to listen to all of that, and it occurred to me being infantry in Vietnam, I served with the 82nd and 101st Airborne. I've had to listen to this dog intermittently for 2 years, twice as long as my duty in Vietnam. And it was a situation there. It wasn't a matter of if, but when would something happen again? So it's not just a veterans issue. If people cannot get sleep, if these barkings are occurring, especially after bedtime, until midnight, and until 3 o'clock in the morning, especially on the weekends. And I have gotten assistance from the Columbia Police Department. They have logs, they have incident reports, but they're not the ticketing authority. The barking has de-escalated some. It's still continuing. I want somebody to ask some questions such as, the ticket was finally written on February the 2nd. After the weekend, when there was dog barking continuously from Saturday night at 10 minutes till 11 till 3 in the morning when the owner came home. You don't sleep with the barking going on. You are wound up and you've been traumatized or hyper alerted by listening to hours of a dog bark. So I had gone to bed early that night because I had 4 biopsies here. I wasn't feeling well. And because of the on and off and the intermittency of the barking and everything, there it was. And after 20 minutes, I just said out loud, "It's happening again." And I said, "Not tonight. I'm feeling terrible." It was a cold night. Columbia Police Department responded again. Their officer Gunner came out, made a body cam. He and another officer had responded before. Other officers had responded at different times. Those records are there. Again, they do not have the ticketing authority. Animal control has been no help, except February 2nd, when, because Chief Holbrook did what he said a year ago, "I can get you help and we'll look into the situation, and I will," my words, encourage animal control to do its job.
Well, thank you, Mr. Fulmer.
You have 3 minutes, and I think you've used that.
Okay, so I have spoken with my councilman, Mr. Brennan, and this morning I have a very good discussion with Mr. Anderson, and there are problems. I will just end with saying animal control is a mess. They're not doing their job, and it's causing problems with health for not only me, but anyone who has to listen to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Fullman. Thank you for your service. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? You got anybody else?
No, sir, not at this time.
Anybody want to make the motion?
Second.
Madam Clerk, it was unanimous.
Thank you. Duly noted.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Everyone, have a happy Thanksgiving.